Hi, it's Paula. This is the Common Book Show. I'm here today with Richard and James on location. He's going to be our restaurant reviewer. And of course, my son Tom on drums. And I have been listening to Sufi stories because way back in the 90s, which doesn't seem like that long ago to me because I'm old, but um, I was I went to see Pierre Vilat, was the head of the Sufi International, and he inducted me in as a Sufi. I became a Sufi. I didn't think much of it because I was also baptized as a Christian. I was initiated in yoga practice, and I thought, okay, let me just do all of them. Just hedge my bets. Who knows who's right, right?
Mhm.
But I really like Sufism, and I found a story today by Indiri Shah, and I want to read this. It's a little long, but I think it's worth a listen. Okay. So, once upon a time, a man was contemplating the ways in which nature operates, and he discovered, because of his concentration and application, how fire could be made. This man was called Noor. He decided to travel from one community to another, showing people his discovery. Noor passed the secret to many groups of people. Some took advantage of the knowledge, others drove him away, thinking that he must be dangerous, before they had time to understand how valuable this discovery could be to them. Finally, a tribe before which he demonstrated became so panic stricken that they set about to kill him because they were convinced he was a demon. Centuries passed. The first tribe, which had learned about fire, reserved the secret for their priests, who remained in influence and power while the people froze. The second tribe forgot the art and worshipped instead the instruments. The third worshipped the likeness of Nur himself because it was he who had taught them. The fourth retained the story of the making of fire in their legends. Some believed them, some didn't. The fifth community really did use fire, and this enabled them to be warmed, to cook their food, and to manufacture all kinds of useful articles. After many, many years, a wise man and a small band of his disciples were traveling through the lands of these tribes. The disciples were amazed at the variety of rituals which they encountered, and one and all said to their teacher, "But all these procedures are in fact related to the making of fire, nothing else. We should reform these people." The teacher said, "Very well, then. We shall start our journey. By the end of it, those who survive will know the real problem and how to approach them." When they reached the first tribe, the band was hospitably received. The priest invited their travelers to attend their religious ceremony, the making of fire. When it was over, the tribe was in a state of excitement at the event which they had witnessed, and the master said, "Does anyone wish to speak?" The first disciple said, "In the cause of truth, I feel myself constrained to say something to these people." "If you will do so at your own risk, you may do so," said the master. Now the disciple stepped forward in the presence of the tribal chief and his priests and said, "I can perform the miracle which you take to be a special manifestation of deity. If I do so, will you accept that you have been in error for so many years?" But the priests cried, "Seize him!" And the man was taken away, never to be seen again. The travelers went to the next territory, where the second tribe were worshiping the instruments of fire making. Again, a disciple volunteered to try to bring reason to the community. With the permission of the master, he said, "I beg permission to speak to you as a reasonable people. You are worshiping the means whereby something may be done, not even the thing itself. Thus, you are suspending the event of its usefulness. I know the reality that lies at the basis of the ceremony." The tribe was composed of more reasonable people, but they said to the disciple, "You are welcome as a traveler and stranger in our midst, but as a stranger foreign to our history and customs, you cannot understand what we are doing. You made a mistake. Perhaps even you are trying to take away and alter our religion. We therefore decline to listen to you." The travelers moved on, and when they arrived in the land of the third tribe, they found before every dwelling an idol representing Nur, the original fire maker. The third disciple addressed the chiefs of the tribe. "This idol represents a man who represents a capacity which can be used." "This may be so," answered the Nur worshippers, "but the penetration of the real secret is only for the few. It is only for the few who will understand, not for those who refuse to face certain facts," said the third disciple. "This is rank heresy, and from a man who does not even speak our language correctly, and it is not a priest ordained in our faith," muttered the priests, and he could make no headway. The band continued their journey and arrived at the land of the fourth tribe. Now a fourth disciple stepped forward in the assembly of the people. "The story of making fire is true, and I know how it may be done," he said. Confusion broke out within the tribe, which split into various factions. Some said, "This may be true, and if it is, we want to find out how to make fire." When these people were examined by the master and his followers, however, it was found that most of them were anxious to use fire making for personal advantage and did not realize that it was something for human progress. So deep had the distorted legends penetrated into the minds of most people that those who thought they might in fact represent truth were often unbalanced. They could not have made use of the fire even if it was shown to them. There was another faction who said, "Of course the legends are not true. This man is just trying to fool us, to make a place for himself here." And a further faction said, "We prefer the legends as they are, for they are the mortar of our cohesion. If we abandon them and we find that this new interpretation is useless, what will become of our community then?" And there were other points of view as well. So the party traveled on until they reached the lands of the fifth community, where the fire making was a commonplace and where other preoccupations faced them. The master said to his disciples, "You have to learn how to teach, for man does not want to be taught. First of all, you will have to teach people how to learn. And before that, you have to teach them that there is still something to be learned. They imagine that they are ready to learn, but they want to learn what they imagine is to be learned and not what they have to learn first. When you have learned all of this, then you can devise the way to teach. Knowledge without special capacity to teach is not the same as knowledge and capacity." Well, obviously, a thesis on religion, more than fire. I just thought that was a great story.
It is a good story.
Ah.
Are you familiar with Matt Dillahunty?
No.
Okay, he, in addition to being a prominent talk show host, he has people call him up and they discuss theism and atheism.
Mm-hmm.
He's also a magician.
Ah.
And he often gets invited. He's so prominent with his speaking abilities that even religious organizations will say, "Well, can you come and give a talk?"
Yeah.
So he goes to religious organizations and he gives talks. And then he has Q&A afterwards, and then he socializes with the people.
Mm-hmm.
He said often he will, in these socializing experiences, he will say to people, "Oh, I'm a magician too." And he said, "I'd like to show you one of my tricks." And he does it, and they're astonished. They said, "How could you not believe in God? Clearly, you are tapping into spiritual forces." And he goes, "No, I'm not." They said, "Yes, you are."
It's a trick. Yeah.
And they said, "No, you're not." And he said, "Look, I'm going to show you the trick again, and I'm going to show you how it's done." So he does do that. And you know what those same people say after that? What would you guess, James?
I swallow.
Don't want us to know the truth of your powers.
Maybe they would see it that way. Um, I So what kind of religious people were these? Were they Christians or were
Yeah.
they there's some strange people out there, aren't there?
Well, let me tell you what they said.
Yeah.
They said, "Oh, Matt, well, obviously you just showed it to us and you showed us that it was a trick. But when you did it earlier, then you were using spiritual forces."
That's
Exactly.
ridiculous. How could they even Yeah, that's very
And
similar. I see why you brought that up in
Because you
conjunction
could
with
see
this
the
story.
similarities,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's so
have you
ridiculous.
have you ever heard of the amazing James Randi?
I
The
have, yeah.
I haven't.
He's a legend.
Is he a magician again?
He was a magician who used his powers of magic to teach people the foolishness of being gullible.
Ah, okay. So go ahead, James.
I was one of the people who worked with him during the 80s when he was taking on religious charlatans who used faith healing as a way to raise money.
Yeah.
And he would show people how these people did their tricks. Like, for instance, he couldn't figure out for the longest time how this one TV preacher was pulling off his miracle of picking people out of the audience and telling them about themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Because he wasn't doing the usual stuff that magicians do with that particular illusion.
Mm-hmm.
And after dogging this guy for months, he noticed something that he hadn't thought too much about previously, the fact that the guy wore a hearing aid. And he thought, wait a minute, a faith healer wearing a hearing aid? What's up with that?
Mm-hmm.
So when they were coming to a particular large city and were packing a hockey rink, he had the forethought to measure all of the transmission frequencies that were able to be picked up in the arena from inside the arena. And then on the night of the revival, there was a new frequency online,
Wow.
which had his wife walking around talking to people in the audience. And then when they went live for their show, he would talk to him into his hearing aid. And so
So he
he
knew who to
was
pick because she was talking to them and getting the information.
right.
And they didn't
And
realize that? That's pretty sad. That's
they
because
were just talking to somebody else who was standing in line waiting to get in.
they didn't know it was the guy's wife. They just thought it was another person in line. Okay. All right, now that
Mhm.
makes more sense. Oh God.
And he recorded their entire transmission for the evening. And boy, were they embarrassed.
Well, so did he play it to the group?
Well, he publicized what happened, and it was reported on the TV news.
Oh,
But
wow. At the local news, where was this?
I don't remember the city
Mm-hmm.
at this point because this was all like 1986
Oh,
or
ancient
something.
times.
Yeah.
It got played on Johnny Carson, too.
Oh, really?
Johnny Carson is a big advocate of people being cheated and,
Yeah.
conned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Did you hear the recordings, James?
Oh, yeah, they were horrible.
She would say, now go next. She's talking to her husband. Okay, next go to the person to your left. No, not that stupid. The other woman over there.
Oh, the fat one.
oh, great. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of debunkers out there. The this our world is, well, I think we're desperate and scared. There's a lot. I mean, I'm not including myself in that, but I think there's a lot of desperation and fear in the world, and people are looking for an answer. They don't want to be responsible for their own existence. And that's all you can do is be responsible for your own existence. And you have to just say, okay, I'll do it. You know, you don't have a choice. You can't put those problems in somebody else's hand. You can let them go, and you can leave them and then wait. You know, if you put them out there and just sleep on it. I mean, that's what I'm more or less what I'm trying to say. And your subconscious mind can solve a lot of problems that you're not even aware it can solve. You know, that's why sleeping on it isn't just an axiom. It's an actual thing. You know, your brain's filled with information that you don't even know is there because you're recording everything that you hear, and you don't know what, you know, your brain's powerful. You know, it's a very powerful tool.
So you know our friend Ron Emke?
Yes.
So he is visiting family in Louisiana.
Okay.
And he notices a lot of things when he's out and about. And he noticed this one billboard. I'll send it to Tom. Can you put this billboard up? This is very.
Oh, I think I saw that on Facebook. But yeah, that's a good thing to show. He's down in Louisiana, and that was down there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is it. It's very thought provoking.
Yeah, because there's two billboards.
Right. So, what's your interpretation of this, of seeing this? Because when I see it, I think of, this is beautiful. This is the imaginary versus the real.
Yeah, and
So in the imaginary world, Jesus is the answer to all your problems, and then
Yeah.
in the real, you
Call
just
the
got
lawyer.
you got in a car crash. This is real. You can't rely on the imaginary.
yeah, it's. There was something that was floating through my head, and it reminded me of some crazy joke I'd heard, but I saw that online and I laughed. That was a funny juxtaposition of two different ideas. You know, you see those billboards around here though too. You know, the Jesus saves, call us and find out how, or something. You know, there'll be a phone number, or there'll be, you know, anti-abortion rhetoric on billboards for Christian websites and things like that. So
I sent that billboard thing to a friend of mine who is religious, and he said, "I agree with you. Jesus is real, and the lawyer is imaginary."
magical, the year of magical thinking.
After all, Jesus put that billboard there so that you could actually meet this lawyer guy who will get you the settlement that will be able to save your family farm.
Jesus, yes, Jesus does put up billboards. I've heard about that, but I'm just amazed at it. I feel sorry for people who need that so badly. I feel sorry for them. It's like, set yourself free. You know, set yourself free. You're free. What I mean, and even the people that say they believe in free will, that we get free will from God, they still believe everything's fated. You know, they got these two ideas in their head, and they can't use their brain to say both things can't be true. And well, I guess once you lose your faith, it's gone. You can't decide to believe again. I mean, I don't know. Is that how you feel?
I think I agree with that totally.
Yeah.
I think that's what happened to Thomas Aquinas.
Oh, you think that he lost his faith? I mean, I don't know that much about Thomas Aquinas.
Well, you know, he wrote more. He wrote so much. He was such a scholar.
Yeah.
He wrote the equivalent of 2 Bibles.
Okay.
All right? That's how much this guy wrote. And the last thing he wrote was, I came to a realization this morning that everything I've written is like straw. Never wrote anything again.
Wow.
My interpretation of that is he realized I can't bullshit myself anymore.
Yeah.
The Catholic Church says he had a vision, and that vision meant that you're at the next level, Thomas, where there are no words.
Well,
Isn't that clever how they got around that?
yeah, that is clever, but I think the more deeply you dig, the more it reveals itself to be foolishness. So you can't, you either have to believe and not question. Like I mean, I remember asking my sister one time, I said, what do you think about things like the virgin birth and all of the mythology behind it? And she says, I believe it. They told me I have to believe it, and I believe it. That's my religion. That's what I believe. And she's not even willing to discuss it, because if she thinks about it too much, she's afraid she'll lose it. And that's what happens. I'm fascinated by religion. I'm fascinated by the ideas people have come up with, and I love the concept of, like, these people that are basically holy people who have, like, come to some conclusion about what existence is about. Like Buddha, Jesus, even maybe Muhammad. I don't know that much about him, but there are spiritual people like that. They have come to some big idea that gives them peace. And then somebody else tries to figure out what it is, and they make rules and regulations and dogma, and they put all this stuff on top of it, that when this kind of realization, it's all the same shit over and over again. The Stoics, the Buddhists, the Christians, I'm not talking about the Christians. We have, like, the followers of Christ. I don't know, the people who think about giving up the ego and just letting go of that separation. You can't. It has to happen individually to somebody. You can't make rules for people to follow that will get them there. You have to let that stuff has to fall away. Your ego has to fall away, or you're just gonna be doing rituals that make no sense, like the people in this story. So that's what I think. Yeah, I mean, why are all the philosophers, the philosophers and the great religious people are all saying the same thing? Dump your ego. Just let that go, because it's not a thing. You're not separate. You're not, you're not special. You're going to die. Everybody dies. So I don't know. That's how I see it, and it's makes sense to me, and I'm happy with it. It's perfectly fine for me. How do you feel about death, James?
It's inevitable.
It's inevitable, but is it
Is it the end, or is there something after?
I have to call myself agnostic. I don't know, and I know that I don't know.
Yeah, that's
There are
exactly.
weird things.
I know. I if there's something else, it'd be interesting. If there's not, that's fine.
Have you seen any evidence, James, that there's something else?
Well, on the one hand, there are certain weird experiences. And on the other hand, Houdini never gave his wife the code. Anybody was going to prove that there was something to the beyond. It was Houdini and his wife.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, the code for Houdini and his wife was actually a code to spell out the word believe.
Huh. Yeah, there were a lot of people who said they were going to die and they were going to, deliver some kind of message, and it hasn't happened. It's just it's a fantasy. Yes, okay, scientifically we're all energy, and energy doesn't dissipate, but it goes someplace else. Like if you have a tree and you have a piece of fruit on that tree, that's energy that a person is going to consume, and then they poop it out, and then something else consumes it, and the energy doesn't dissipate. It just changes forms. And so, a human life is like, a tree dies eventually, but it's left all this stuff like leaves and seeds and everything else. And people aren't quite as prolific as a tree, and they're not going to live as long as a tree. So we only have the time we have, and it's exciting. Life is exciting. I don't want to downplay how much I enjoy life, even when it's not so enjoyable. Just being alive, is great. I like it. I think it's stimulating, and so I'm happy that I got to be here, because it's a crapshoot. Think of all the eggs and sperm that never got made into anything, and I happen to be here. Ha ha! I'm lucky. It's a good thing. I'm not looking forward to death, but I don't really fear it either. Suffering. I don't like to suffer. I'm hoping there's less suffering than some people.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, that was really kind of a weird topic. So you were reading off of your screen, so you did have a couple things you wanted to share.
Yeah, I have a few things.
Okay, yeah.
There is a 2024 movie called Night Bitch, which is this feminist masterpiece.
Uh-huh.
And
is it American?
oh yeah,
Okay. I don't think.
Yeah.
Did we talk about this at all before?
no.
Oh, okay. All right. I don't know if I ever came across it.
And the premise of the movie is that after a woman has a baby, it affects her mind and can put her mind in another level where she's between the human and the divine.
Wow.
And so what's between the human and the divine? Between the human and the divine is the animal. See, hence the title of the movie.
Oh, okay.
You see? So this woman has a baby, and she's in this gray area between the human and the divine, and she starts to notice the animal in her is coming out. So when she, and specifically a dog. So when she goes to the supermarket, she picks up a piece of cheese, and she can tell all the ingredients by sniffing it. And she goes, "Did I always have this power?" Or and then I didn't realize it,
Yeah.
Or like there's little like fur is growing on her back and stuff like that. So anyway, it's a fascinating movie. It's full of ideology. There's a scene in the movie where the husband of this woman is having a quarrel with her. And the scene is so well written, it's 4 minutes long, that I couldn't tell who had the more compelling argument. So if I play the scene for you, will you give me your opinion as to who makes a more compelling argument, the woman or the man?
Sure. It might be hard to make an assessment based on just a small little piece like that, but I'll tell you what it sounds like to me.
Okay. Will you give us your assessment, James?
I can already give you an assessment. The woman's right. She's always right. It doesn't matter.
Shut up.
Okay, Mr. Windsor.
I'm planning. I'm assuming we're not going to agree on this, but that's okay. That's what we do. Okay.
Mr. Windsor, when you're ready.
and you didn't even call me.
It was a pretty traumatic morning. There was blood on the steps, and we had to bury him.
I could have helped.
Well, I guess I've gotten pretty good at doing things by myself.
Oh.
But it has made some things pretty clear, though.
Like what?
I'm not doing okay. You were so quick to support me when I said that I wanted to give up being an artist.
That's what you said you wanted.
No, you were so quick. Like, there's no protestations from you, and it just would have been nice to have a little encouragement from you. Say that I'm good at what I do and that it would be a shame to give it up. Tell me that I'll return to it someday, but you just smile.
No, I didn't.
Because somewhere you knew that you were getting exactly what you've always wanted, which is for me to be a stay-at-home mom. Just
Whoa, wait a
like
minute.
your mom and her mother. It's a sweet deal for you. You have your job and I have mine, only my job has no pay and no vacation days and no appreciation and includes washing your fucking underwear.
I never said that, okay? This feels a little bit like a trap.
Oh, you feel trapped? Do you have any fucking clue how trapped I feel? I have found myself in a fucking 1950s marriage where all I do is take care of our son and you and the fucking cat.
It was your idea to quit your job. I didn't suggest
No,
that.
I agreed to it. But I had no fucking clue what I was agreeing to. I didn't realize that I would feel like a single parent who has zero help, who has to give up her dreams to take care of everyone.
I don't know what to say. I didn't know you felt this way.
He doesn't either.
What?
Do you think that I want it like this?
All the time.
I mean, do you think that I want to be married to my mother? I don't want to feel your resentment the moment I walk into my house. If you were so fucking unhappy, why didn't you tell me? Do you expect for me to read your mind?
That's
Look, if you tell me that everything's fine, then I think that everything is fine. If you tell me that you want to quit your job and stop being an artist and stay at home with our son, and I say, okay, I think I'm supporting you. That is just some passive-aggressive bullshit.
No, okay,
No.
but...
You're not the person that I married either. The person I married let things go that weren't important. She was tough as shit. She was weird and excited about things in the world, like reading books.
Oh my fucking God, I
No,
cannot
it's
believe you're
fucking
saying this to me.
disappointing. It's disappointing for me, too. I mean, I don't know how we got here. I really don't know how we got here. You're too busy worried about fucking book babies to ask about my day at work or keep up on current events. I mean, what happened to the girl that I married? Huh? What happened to the girl that inspired me and made me challenge this world in new and interesting ways, huh? What happened to my wife?
She died in childbirth.
she's expecting him to read her mind, which is stupid. She was the one who made the decision to stop working. She has no right to. He's right, but they were not communicating through their marriage. He was not letting her know that he felt that she'd slipped away as a person, as an extra person, as a person in the relationship. They weren't communicating. And he didn't communicate with her, and she was not communicating with him. That's how they got all messed up. But she made the first mistake by saying she wanted to quit when she really didn't. She wanted him to, what is the word? To validate her as an artist, when in fact it was up to her to hang on with her teeth and nails to her individuality and herself. And he should have, not that he should have known that she wasn't telling him the truth, but he should have said, hey, you know, why where are you? What's going on? I mean, that's how a good relationship would sustain itself, by both people sh- telling the other person what their needs were. Neither one of them was doing that. And you're laughing at me. Go ahead, James.
Paula, Paula, Paula.
Paula,
How's your
Paula,
pop?
Paula.
You say that as if there was a right response for him.
No,
Is
there wasn't a right response for him. He couldn't have said anything that he she was in the wrong. She did the wrong thing.
but here's what your answer does not include. No matter what he said, no matter what he did, she would be mad about it. If he told her she couldn't quit, she'd say, "How dare you tell me what to do?" When he said, "I support your decision, how dare you not fight for me to keep doing what I said I don't want to do anymore?" It reminds me of something that my dad told me at the time. I thought he was crazy. He said, "Always pick fights with your woman so that you can control what you're fighting about. Pick a fight about something you care nothing about. That way you'll never say anything that you will regret. And if you don't do this, she will pick the fights. And then you'll be arguing about stuff that actually matters. And you're going to have a hard time with that because both of you are going to say things that are going to mess up your relationship."
Yeah, this is a very dysfunctional world that you are it's talking about, James.
I'm
Very,
talking about the world where
very
this scene comes from.
right, but right.
No matter what he said, she would come back later and say, "You didn't
Right.
support me."
But there's another thing that she said that's very important. I did not know what I was signing up for. She said that specifically, and she's right. You don't know when, that is a choice for women. Women can make that decision to stay home and raise the kids and the family, do the house stuff. They can make that decision as long as they know that the reason they're able to do that and to have that life is because the man is going to work and he is bringing in the money. So yes, it is a division of labor. That's how it should work if you decide to do that.
And
But
it doesn't because women don't value what the men put in. Do you think this guy thought that he was signing up for a situation where he would pay $1 million to argue with someone who didn't support him and didn't want to have sex with him?
well, but that is not that should not be what you're saying. See, where your worldview clashes with mine is that I'm a person who communicates and I don't let, if I make a decision and it turns out to be wrong, I'll sit down with Greg and I'll say, you know what, I thought I wanted to do this, but this is not what I thought it was going to be, and I want to make some changes. And he'll listen and he'll give me his input, and we communicate about these things. So, but the world you're talking about is a world where men and women are separate beings, and I mean they are separate beings, but they're different things. They're like from different planets, and they're not communicating at all. And if that's the world that people are living in, really feel fucking sorry for these people, because that is not the world I live in. I live in a world where there's communication and we talk, and sometimes we talk too much, and I just want to shut up for a while, but it's better than not knowing what the person's thinking.
What this female character in this film is doing is a very common thing. It doesn't matter what happens, it's her husband's fault. She's not taking accountability for anything. If she would just say, "I decided to stop doing my art, and my husband did what he thought was the right thing," saying, "Whatever you want, dear, I will support you."
Right. And I agree with you. I agree with you on this, James. We're not arguing. I'm arguing that it's no that yes, this happens a lot. I'm not saying it doesn't. I see it all the time. But in a world where people communicate with each other, yeah, she was angry, but she wasn't taking responsibility for her choices. And she was expecting him to read her mind, which is always a mistake. Women do it all the time. I don't think men do it as much. Of course, men aren't as communicative most of the time. And,
Because no one cares what we think.
well, that's not true either. I think that men just don't know how to express themselves as well as women do because we're raised to be talking, and men are like, buck up, be strong. You're a man. No tears. Go off and go hit a baseball around. They're not nurtured like girls are, and we're told, okay, what's wrong, honey? What do you want to talk? You want to talk to me about it? You want to tell me what's going on? And boys are like, buck up. You can't be you can't be acting like that.
Because men are raised. You don't have the luxury of crying over the spilt milk. Shut up and get over it.
Well,
Nobody wants
but
to hear
that's
it
not
anymore.
fair. I mean, it's not fair to men, and I think it's changing now. When with women who grew up in my generation and the generations after me, I think they're allowing boys to have emotions and feelings now. But it's hard for anyone my age, or even 10 years younger, to get in touch with their emotions for guys because they were always told that they were bad things, and that's or anger. Don't be angry. Don't be sad. Don't cry. Don't express yourself like that. People are going to think there's something wrong with you. you know. So there's been problems all along. I don't know. I don't agree with I agree with you that this character is messed up. This woman is messed up. But I don't agree with you that this is 100% normal.
It's at least
Okay,
50.001%.
50%. I'll give you 50%, James. All right, we'll we can agree on that. So Lou, we have Lou Meng joining us again. So Lou, anytime you want to come over here and do this with us, I will be happy to pick you up. And I don't know, I'm not sure exactly what "yes they do" is referring to, so I can't comment. But anyway, did you watch the whole movie?
Mm-hmm.
You liked it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would like to see that movie. I don't know if Greg would.
You want me to give it to you?
Yeah, I'd love that.
Okay.
It's new? It's
Brand new.
New this year? Yeah.
You know it's got to be a good movie if the star of the movie, Amy Adams,
Yeah.
put in her own money to make sure the movie got made.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if
Okay.
somebody believes in it that much, that's a good sign. But looks like my kind of dialogue movie, where you can really.
I didn't think I would like it because when they advertised the movie, they almost made it sound like a werewolf movie, except the woman's turning into a dog. It's not that at all. She starts out after she gives birth, she starts having these dreams that she's a dog and she's free and she can roam the streets at night. You know what I mean?
These dogs are free, yeah.
And so you think it's her subconscious mind saying, "Come on, liberate yourself."
Yeah, there's a thing that's not just explained very well to women, that once you have a child, you are, if you're a normal woman who has maternal instincts, because not everyone does, that's your kid forever. I remember when I was 19 and I was pregnant and I was thinking, oh, I can do this for 18 years. And why I thought 18 years was short, I don't know. I was only 19.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not the setup. The setup is this is your job until you die or your child dies. I would prefer to go first, but your child is your child forever. And you will always have, not that I'm worried about her all the time and thinking about her all the time, but she's always a presence. She is a life that came out of my body that's part of me. And my grandchildren are the same thing. When I was pregnant with Renee, in Renee's womb were the eggs that would make my grandchildren.
Mm-hmm.
So I carried all of those kids in my womb, and it's different for women than it is for men.
So the star of the movie, she goes to a local library where they have Children's Day at the library.
Uh-huh.
Everybody has sing-alongs. And
Yeah.
I guess these things are real.
They are.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, they're real.
So you're sitting there with all the other moms, right?
Uh-huh.
And she looks around. She goes, "I can't identify with any of these women." But then, as the movie goes on, they feel that they have this bond, and they feel the same way about a lot of things. Listen to this quote from the movie. She's talking to the other women. "Do you ever feel like the big secret is that we are gods? We create life. We make life. We are so powerful that men are terrified of us."
Well, that was the case in ancient cultures, but that was before, that was when God was a woman, you know. But
James, do you feel that on a subconscious level you're terrified of women?
Fuck no.
well, don't hold back. Well,
It's such a stupid idea. I mean, could you get more narcissistic than that?
what that you make
Yeah,
that
I mean-
our creation is the fact that our bodies create life is
It doesn't terrify you that you don't have that power?
You say that as if they can make a child without us.
well, we just need a donation. We don't need another body to gestate a human in.
We can donate to literally millions of women. You can only do one child at a time.
And thank God, because one is enough, baby. One is enough.
Now, are you terrified of our ability to repopulate the earth, each man?
No, I'm well aware of that fact. I've dated many of you who have tried single-handedly to repopulate the earth.
And so you can see how we have no problem with the idea that you generate life within your womb. We're
Yeah.
not afraid of it at all. After all, we know that in general, you're going to need a lot of support.
Or not, because I raised my child by myself.
Within a community that gave you support.
Well, within a community that gave me support that I paid for, because I moved away from my family because I couldn't stand them. So I was on my own in New York, and I had somebody who'd pick her up from school, and I paid her out of the money that I earned. And not only did I earn money to support my child, my husband did not work one day out of the 7 years I was married to him. I gave him an allowance for beer and cigarettes. So don't give me any bullshit.
You're a woman in the United States.
That's
How
true.
much support does this country give women?
I didn't have anything except, well, when I first left my husband, I did go on public assistance to get my feet on the ground. But then when I moved to New York, I didn't have any assistance from anybody. I mean, occasionally, Kenny's mother sent me a check for $100, and she put it in my name because she knew if it was in his name, it would be spent on beer and cigarettes. So that I have had that, and you know what? I'm so glad I had that experience, because it shows me what that feels like to be on the other side, because usually it is the man who is taking care of that if there is a couple. But I really am glad that I experienced that responsibility of taking care of 3 people. And it helped me to understand the dynamic. Would I do it again? Never.
I'm just going to say that from this day forward, I am going to attempt to not try anymore to elicit empathy for the male cause, because it really is a religious belief in this country, this culture, that men don't get that. And if I try to say things like, not all women are wonderful, hellfire
Well,
comes my way.
and not no, well, not all men are wonderful. I mean,
Nobody debates that.
okay, all right. Well, I'm saying that there are human beings, and I like to think of men and women as human beings. There are human beings that can be reasonable and can cooperate and can discuss things and communicate. There are human beings like this, and I know, yes, okay, you're probably right. It probably is 50% or 51% that don't. I see it in grocery stores. I see it I see it everywhere I go. People not getting along and not communicating and not being happy. But that doesn't mean it's everyone.
Well, again, what I see as the problem is that men can't even get the benefit of the doubt, let alone any empathy. And I'd like to take this point to point out that if a woman does anything bad or is accused of anything bad, everybody wants to find a reason why it happened that exonerates her from some or all of the accountability. But we can right a wrong here today, because you are accused on the front page, you're exonerated on page Z28. We on this show about 2 years ago announced the arrest and charges against Mr. Andrew Tate, and now 2.5 years later, the judge has dismissed the case, saying there isn't enough evidence to even take it to trial. So we can at least put that out on the same
Okay.
page that we put the allegation on.
All right, that's fine with me. I'm you know I don't have any feelings about that either way. you know, that's
My only feeling about it is, just like Johnny Depp, this guy had to spend millions of dollars for something that shouldn't have taken more than a couple of weeks.
yeah.
He's been jailed multiple times. He had his passport taken away. His family members were harassed. His businesses were messed with. And a judge says, I'm not even going to bind this over for trial.
So how did it get that far in the first place then? If it was such a weak case?
Because when women point their finger, it's like the accusation is the conviction.
Well, I think there was a small, not small, but there was a period of time after the Me Too movement where that may have been true, but I think things have calmed down a little bit since then.
We can hope. I don't have any kind of illusion that that's what happened.
Yeah. Well, I don't. You know what? It's hard for. I haven't been paying much attention to the news because I was overwhelmed, and it was making me sick. So I decided to stop watching the news. So I don't know what's going on right now. I do know that who is that senator or congressman or whoever it was, the guy with the big forehead that had charges against him.
Matt Gates.
Matt Gates, yeah. There's something that's been released about Matt Gates. I didn't look into that. There's things like that are never going to go away because people behave badly, men and women.
But my point on this is the system acts without facts and evidence. Matt Ariza was cut from the Buffalo Bills because a woman said he did something. All evidence came back to say he wasn't even there when whatever happened to her happened.
And then was there any
And
recourse after that?
no, he's now playing for the Kansas City Chiefs because even once all of the charges were dismissed, the Bills didn't take him back into camp.
Well, we've got a Christian coach, right? We have this guy who is,
Which is why he should have been brought back. He was not guilty.
well, I know, but
Someone made a false accusation.
when I say Christian coach, I'm not saying that means he's good. It just means he's got weird values that would prevent him maybe from doing that. I don't know.
They should have slaughtered the fatted calf and had a party and brought him home.
That's right, the prodigal son.
And kissed his
Damn it.
feet and said, "Will you kick for us?"
Yeah. Well, that's that's a story. Yeah. I don't know. I can see where women, what you're saying has got a grain of truth about women getting the benefit of the doubt more, but I think it's slowly switching. I think it's slowly calming down.
There has at least been some women who have been prosecuted for their baseless charges more recently.
That's good.
But even there, it's one of those situations where it's a token kind of thing. This woman who ended up admitting in her elocution that she accused these two guys of raping her at a party because she thought this guy that she had a thing for would be somehow convinced to have sympathy for her, and maybe she could get him to date her
Well,
behind. Yeah,
There's a twisted sister.
exactly.
Yeah.
But this kid was on track to be in the NFL, and he lost his entire career because of this stupid accusation by this crazy person. And
Yeah, there should be a recourse for that too. If women are coming forward and they're lying, they can't be blameless in that situation.
he could have got 5 to 8 years in jail. They're giving her an 8-month sentence for doing what she did,
Well,
which
that's,
means, of course, she's not even going to serve the 8 months. She's going
Right.
to be out in like 3 to 5.
yeah. Well, we're starting to run low on time here. We've got a little over 2 minutes, and what else do you have that you want to make sure we get in today?
What does this say about the about the mental health care system in America?
Okay.
On the day after Christmas, Tony the truck driver was so depressed,
Oh yeah.
he called the suicide prevention hotline. Mm-hmm. So after speaking for 2 minutes about what was on his mind, he was told, "I'm going to have to put you on hold. I have another call coming in, and I'm the only one here." So he was put on hold. He waited for 5 minutes, and then he hung up. The next morning, he woke up, he looked at his phone, and he saw there was a voicemail from a hospital in New Jersey. Mm-hmm. He called the number back. "This is the suicide prevention hotline for substance abuse calling you back." He explained what his problem was, that it was depression, not substance abuse.
Yeah.
Person on the other line said, "Oh, sorry, not my department," and hung up on him.
Yeah, we got a problem. There's a problem. I mean, we don't have enough. First of all, there's not enough workers. Second of all, there's too many crazy people because our society is out of whack, and everybody's it's too much social media and too much going on, and our mental health issues are overwhelming. It's overwhelming now, and there's not enough people working these jobs. And then they just get arrested and put in jail. When they have them on the street, they're on the streets and they're acting out, and instead of going someplace where they can get help, they're put in jail. I know we've got like 41 seconds left there, Tom. I see you. But so anyway, I don't know what to do about that. That's a problem. But my daughter works in mental health, and she runs a program for people who have opened up their homes to people, just like in a if you're a foster child. It's a foster adult, and they go into people's homes to live, which is a really great program. So anybody out there who wants to be a foster person for people with mental health issues, just give me a ring. All right. So thank you everyone for being here. Thank you, James, Richard, my son Tom, and I guess myself.